Hey guys, it's Matt. I think the wind noise is going to be horrible out here, but it is what it is. This is my park. Just want to show you a few things here. This is totally on the fly. I didn't realize I had my video camera. I just picked it up. So let's just get the bad news out of the way first. Beautiful blue day, right? How many of those will we see anymore? This is facing northwest. And I don't know, I'm 30 minutes outside of Philadelphia. I'm sure the wind noise is bad, whatever. But what do we have? Let's get the bad news out of the way. Can you see those chemtrails the way I can? It always seems like they're in the direction of the sun. Always seems like they're in the direction of the sun. Proof this is Matt. It's me. It is me. Alright. Come some geese. So in this direction it's crystal clear blue. So the planes that go this way don't make the trails. Let's see the geese. There's still heaven here. Even if the hell is infringing upon it or impinging upon it, the heaven is still here. But always in the direction of the sun are the trails. Now down here, I know it's going to be shaky and terrible, whatever. We have a path, I guess Grindle 61 would call it an Agenda 21 or Agenda 30 path. Goes all the way into Philadelphia. There's a walker. All the way into Philadelphia. So Agenda 21, Agenda 30, I'm not thrilled about it, but I like the path. And regarding the path, there was a lot more people down there earlier, not just this one or two walkers. But when they look towards the sun, they see these trails. They don't think anything of it. It's just normal, I guess, for a jet to make a trail. You know, I don't know. Forever, basically. I was going to say 100 miles. That's just what I can see. So the other thing is, the wind has died down. I mean, when I got out here, it was really whipping. And I've thought about this in the past, but I've never talked about it. But well, if the wind is whipping on the ground, we're always told that the wind up in the atmosphere is, I don't know, can be 10 times as violent. Well, how do these trails stay in one place? Isn't the wind up in the atmosphere supposed to be at least double, if not up to 10 times more violent? Wouldn't it rip these trails apart? How do they just linger? For all you domers, that is pretty good evidence in your favor. You know, stay neutral on that subject. But yeah, I don't know, Chester County, they put it to the side. I don't know what this thing is. It's got to be 50 acres. And I live up on this hill here on the other side of the trees. And as rural as it looks, I mean, we're only about 5 minutes away from hardcore cities and civilization and suburbs. And whatever they did here is awfully nice. This house, it's always been up here. This mansion's always been up here. Nobody knows anything about it. It's gigantic. I just can't even give you justice as to how big this place is until you're up upon it. This is not a rich area either. It's just regular middle class. Look at these birds. They're my canary in the coal mine. These birds are still doing okay. We're doing okay. We got geese in the coal mine. Canadian geese in the coal mine, not canaries in the coal mine. So let's go inside here. It's freezing. Yellow days.
What it's
Yeah, the trails are always towards the sun. And I can't quite get my hands around how is it. It seems like that seems to be a common theme amongst many of us, that, well, how are the trails always between us and the sun? When I showed you, oh, am I losing power? Hey guys, I don't like to end a video like that, but I haven't talked about chemtrails in a while. I'll just tell you everything that I know and I think. Some things I think we should pay attention to. Sometimes I look at things in a little bit different fashion, as I think you would agree with. But first starting, I'm not an expert in this. I haven't spent thousands of hours researching this. These are just from my observations of reality, like everything else, telling you what I know, and just asking people to think about what's going on with chemtrails in the right way. And I think this exercise going through these bullet points that I wrote out will help. Now, again, it has not been my area of research. If I present one of these 6 things and I'm completely wrong, or Matt, you don't have the latest information here, just share in the comments. And I admit, in one of these areas I may be behind the times, and you can help me out with that. But it is good to regroup, I think, every so often on a subject as important as this. So let me just start by saying I believe there's a ton of disinformation on YouTube, websites, generally regarding this chemtrail debate or topic or subject. I believe there's a lot of disinformation. Don't read into that. Don't take it any further than that. Meaning, what is Matt saying? Is he saying, is he admitting Dane Whittington's a shill? Or I don't know enough about Dane Whittington and these people. I just believe that we should be skeptical of all authorities on chemtrails. Anybody who presents themselves as an authority. Listen to the information. Be skeptical. That's all I'm saying. I know there's a ton of disinformation about this topic. So if somebody wants to say whatever I'm about to present could be disinformation, wonderful. That's wonderful skepticism. That's all I'm saying. So that's number 1. This topic is not resolved in any area. Anybody that knows exactly this is going on or that, no. Okay, I can tell you it's not resolved. So there's a lot of disinfo. Keep the skeptical, we see glasses on. Okay. Some things that I would just say my notes here are not going on, in my opinion, with whatever these chemtrails are, that obviously we know at this point they exist. It's not natural. It's not normal. Likely didn't happen in the 70s or the 80s. It's, in my opinion, okay, it's not them trying to block us from seeing something. Okay, that is not what's going on, in my opinion. Oh, they're trying to block Nibiru, so we can't see a inbound body, or block this or that. And no, because everybody, no matter what you believe this plane of existence is, everybody's at a completely different part, miles away. They couldn't block everything. No, I don't believe that's the case at all. All right. What's next? Okay, somebody have argued with me over the years that, Matt, anything that comes out of the back of a plane is a chemtrail of some kind, and there's no difference between contrail and chemtrail, and I totally disagree. We all, people watching this, we observe the skies. We just, people watching this type of channel, that's what we do. And when the plane is way up high and there's this little tiny trail that dissipates, that's a legitimate contrail, in my opinion. I believe that is a legitimate atmosphere, moisture disturbance that can come from a real plane, a real commercial airplane that dissipates a short little trail. I believe that exists. I don't believe any little thing coming out of the back of a plane is a chemtrail. To me, the chemtrails are more than obvious, like I just showed you. Go outside, it's crystal clear blue, look over here, and there's huge, as far as the eye can see, huge swath from there to there, 100 miles in all directions. I mean, there it's obvious. That's a chemtrail. Why others around us can't see it, that should be the last part of this video. I'll write that down. Can't see. Need to talk about that. Why? That is a reality breakdown, completely perplexing. Why others can't see this or notice what we do. Actually, there are a lot of reality breakdowns when it comes to these chemtrails, in my opinion. Let's start small with the basics. Like I mentioned in the video coming in when I was filming with my camera, they don't move like they should move, in my opinion. It was windy down on the ground, whipping winds. Aren't we told atmospheric winds are, like I said, maybe 10 times or 5 times as violent up in the atmosphere? That's why it takes 2 extra hours to get from Philadelphia to Seattle versus coming back. And there was a social club I was in 10 or 12 years ago, and one of the local young meteorologists in Philly was in it, and he was telling me I lost a tree with these, they call it inline straight winds, 80-mile-an-hour winds, and he said that the upper atmosphere is full of these violent winds, and those violent winds at 100 miles an hour were pushed down, and that's why you lost a tree. And so we're all told this, the upper atmosphere is very, very windy. I don't think anybody would dispute that. So the trail goes across and it just kind of stays there. Why isn't it like ripped apart by these 100-mile-an-hour winds? See what I mean? That's something to consider. We can't form any conclusions here. It's just something to consider, how they do hold together when it's supposed to be much windier than it is on the ground. I want to mention whenever we hear these tired old mantras to explain reality, I don't buy it. Something else is going on. So I'm tired of hearing barium, strontium, aluminum, blah blah blah. Barium, strontium, aluminum. Whatever. Maybe they are. Maybe there have been legitimate tests showing that the soil is now filled with barium, strontium. But if I hear that mantra over and over, there's something else is going on. Something beyond reality itself. Something thinking around 2 corners. I don't want to. When I hear the same old things, I don't buy it. Okay, well, even if it's true, well, what's the purpose of the barium, strontium, aluminum, whatever? So I don't want to hear that same stuff anymore. We need to think around 2 corners, 3 corners, not the same old stuff. Said how they form the line, they don't move because of the wind. They also, like I mentioned in that video, they also seem to be in the direction of the sun all the time. Now, I've looked up and they have been away from the sun. So this isn't a rule, but it just seems like they're kind of always, when the sun's over here, they're between me and the sun. That seems to happen a lot. Have you noticed that? Maybe I'm wrong. But how is that? Because we're all in different spots on this planet, on this realm. We're all in different spots, different angles, different perspectives. How is it always between us and the sun? Well, maybe it isn't always, but it seems that way to me. It's just an observation. Is that a reality breakdown? No, I don't want to push it to there yet. It's just something we should think about. Commercial aircraft versus non-commercial aircraft. I don't believe it's commercial aircraft. I just don't. I don't believe every pilot is in on it, and every grounds crew is in on it, every maintenance worker, and maybe that's what they're using instead of fuel. Maybe, but I don't think so. I don't believe they're pushing the chemicals up to United Airlines and Delta, and regular passengers are riding, and they could just, they're not observing huge swaths of chem coming out the back. No, I don't think they're using commercial. Maybe that's obvious, but that always seems to be part of the debate. So if they're not using commercial aircraft to put out whatever is being put out, non-commercial aircraft or drones, I'm aware of all the theories, okay? You understand who you're talking to here. I'm aware of all the theories that they're not really that high and they're smaller. I know all that. I got all that. Who you talking to here? I've seen it all in this truth endeavor. And I'm not poo-pooing anything. Everything's on the table. I'm just saying, no matter what they are, big, small, high, low, nobody ever sees them land. Nobody ever sees where do they go? Where do they come from? Where do they go? Too many years have gone by now. We're close to 10 years looking at this phenomenon pretty closely. Where are they coming from? Where do they go? You ever see a unmarked white plane with chemicals being fueled right next to Delta and United at your airport? Where are they coming from? A plane needs 3, 4, 5 mile landing strip. It's loud. Nobody's filmed anything. It's like a reality breakdown. It is. Even when Aurora, the flying rainbow lasagna, Aurora, our friend, I haven't seen her videos for a while, But when I thought, now if I'm putting words in her mouth, I apologize, but I thought she might have suggested, and she thinks as big as anybody, and that's what I love. What I'm all about is big thinking. You can't think big enough in terms of figuring out what's really going on in this reality. I think she suggested once they come in from somewhere interdimensionally. I don't know. They come in, they do their thing, and they leave. I don't think they don't land at an airport. I don't take that off the table. Absolutely not. I would never call thinking like that crazy. Makes more sense. There's none of these planes don't land. Where's the image? We can't get one picture with these P9000 we can't get one picture of anything landing or taking off. It's a reality breakdown. Just something to keep in mind. I'm not making any jump conclusions here at all. This is just a summary, Cliff's Notes summary of what do we know now, and to regroup as we tackle this subject going forward, if we can ever figure it out. It does seem that before they'll announce, the weather people will announce a big, huge rainstorm coming here in Pennsylvania, say Friday. It does seem like Wednesday or Thursday or 3 or 4 days before the chemtrails go out, or they're much more noticeable. Am I then saying they're just using it to create rain or to control weather? No, I don't. I think it's much bigger than that. Again, don't read into what I'm saying, or don't stretch what I'm saying. I'm just saying there does seem, for me watching this for 10 years, there does seem to be a correlation between a big storm or a rainstorm and the chemtrails. When we've had so much rain, but when we had this summer, we did have 3 weeks without a drop. Very, very dry, very, very blue, no chemtrails. Do I think it's just about weather modification? No. I think it's much, much more involved. But I'm just saying I see a correlation. I have no conclusions here. Just things to note. And if enough of us note these things and agree on these things, we can form the foundation maybe can rise a little higher. We can get a little bit closer to what might be going on. If you think you got it all figured out as to what these chemtrails are, what's going on, then you don't. We don't know. Okay, we don't know. If you think you know, you don't. That's generally the case with almost all truth. Someone comes out and says, I know this and I know that. No, they don't. Okay? No, they don't. Even if they knew and they knew, if they knew and they say they knew and they got it spot on, you think whatever that creature is behind the curtain, whatever it might be, would just allow that? No, I don't think so. One of a reality breakdown to me is why the pilots and the meteorologists stay quiet. And this does relate to why others around us can't see it. We'll go outside from a family member or an aunt's house. It's a blue sky, and there's like 5 or 6 huge trails as far as the eye can see. And we just want to say to people, you don't see that? I mean, what? And if you say something, they're going to think you're crazy, or like my neighbor said, that's always been like that with planes. What are you talking about? Really? There's also, this is worth saying before I get into this point. See, the people that pull that forth, it's always been that way. That it's not possible, because certain parts of the country, let's just back up. This is extremely important, the most important part. If planes did that, if one plane did that, or one jet did that on a particular day, with the atmospheric conditions, humidity, dew point of that day, if one did it, they all would do it. They all use the same engines. Pratt & Whitney, General Electric, whatever, maybe some old Rolls-Royce. I mean, there's like 3 manufacturers in the world. And of course the design is almost exactly the same. So the point is, if one plane did it, they all do it. So there are thousands of planes in the Maine to Florida shipping lane. In the Boston to Atlanta, it's called a shipping lane. Planes don't just fly wherever they want. Let's just take it up and, let's go up by the mountains. No, they fly almost in invisible highways in the sky. They deviate more than like 100 yards. They're called back on course. They fly in basically invisible highways. So if one plane did it, you would have thousands doing it on that day if it was truly atmospheric conditions. And people between Boston and Atlanta on those days, if it was atmospheric conditions, would never see the sun. So when we have a situation where it's crystal clear blue outside of Philadelphia, and like I used to notice, I haven't noticed this as much recently, but it was like a pattern right about 11 o'clock. You know, all morning, no trails. Then right around lunchtime's coming, oh, here come the trails. 8 trails, 10 trails, as far as the eye can see. Well, it's easy to know there have been, say, 200 flights or more along that shipping lane since 7 a.m. So, and the atmospheric conditions haven't changed a wink. So if one plane starts doing it at 11, they all would have been doing it all morning. And if one plane starts doing it at 11 or 12 or 1, they all would do it after that until the sun went down. Therefore, anybody that lived between Boston and Atlanta wouldn't see the sun because 8 trails can spread out and make a cloud. How about 8,000? There are 40,000 flights a day in the United States, at least 26,000 jumbo jet commercial flights, if you include FedEx and UPS. 26,000 at least, if not 30,000. So it's just so obvious that you can make it's a kindergarten case that if those 5 planes are doing it, well, every plane would be doing it. We wouldn't have any sky today. Nobody can grasp this for some reason. Times that by 28,000. Well, Matt, that plane might have a different engine or a different design. No, it's all the same. The way a Honda Accord makes a car go today or 1980 is no different than the way Toyota did. Yeah, there's slight differences in the engine. They all basically do the same thing. They use gasoline. There's an explosion. A piston goes up. You know, see what I'm saying? It's not like, you know, it's emission free, and all of a sudden you look over and at 11 o'clock a Honda Accord starts bellowing out smoke from its tailpipe. No, if it was doing that, they all would be doing it if that was the design of the engine. Anyway, you know, so the point here then is why can't others around us see this? And nobody will talk to us about it. Nobody will talk to me about this crazy subject. So I haven't even been able to present this common sense topic of, well, if one would do it, they all would do it. Forget that for now. Let's talk about pilots and meteorologists. This is like a reality breakdown. How are pilots and meteorologists all quiet on this? Everyone. Oh, ex-military people, right? And the pilots, completely quiet. Nobody says anything. Nobody reports on anything. Nobody does anything. Nobody has a YouTube channel. I'm an ex-pilot, and I can tell you, right, all of a sudden, in 1985, we were up in the sky, and all these huge swaths of trails, and I know my planes don't do it. Where's all this testimony? Okay, maybe somebody's going to show me one guy pulling out a camcorder, talking to his pilot as the stewardess is saying, or the flight attendant is saying, "Bye now, bye now, bye now." You know, hey, are there chemtrails real, sir? Is it pushing him off the plane? I don't care about that. Don't show me that. I'm going to see some real testimony. Hasn't happened in 30 years? How? It's a reality breakdown. Meteorologist, same way. We go outside, looks like a nice day, 4 o'clock in the summer. You look up and you get depressed. Look up towards the sun, and there's these just huge trails. I mean, I know I'm saying the same thing over again. And then you and I would get a little depressed, like, oh, really? Again? Like, you know, I always for a second go, really? And then I put on the local news, Glenn Hurricane Schwartz, NBC 10, and now he's demoted to just a regular meteorologist, and we have Tammy Souza, who's really annoying, in my opinion. And take her back to wherever she came from, this Tammy Souza at NBC 10 Philadelphia. But we just have high clouds. And no, Tammy, they're not high clouds. Look, it's a freaking gigantic 100-mile-long trail coming out of 8 airplanes that produced a cloud that blocked the sun. So where are all the weather people on this? I know the common answers to all this. They're just, you know, who would want to sacrifice their $500,000 a year job and their pension, Matt? I know. But again, I'm just asking for one person, like you and I with balls, to talk to one pilot. Be up there flying around and over to the west, these huge trails, and they know what their planes can do and can't do. One guy never started blogging. It's a reality breakdown to me. It doesn't compute. The same way after there's that gambling town. We don't want the AI bots noticing too early, do we? There's that gambling town out west, close to the Hoover Dam. And there was that big event where 600 people or plus were injured at that harvest, the Route 91 harvest concert. Bang bang out the window. Where the reality breakdown? Where's the testimony of anybody that worked in the two regional hospitals when nobody showed up? You know, it's the same kind of thing. That was my initial. That might have been my initial reality breakdown of all time when I was analyzing the fake bang bang events, and with Robin, How I See the World, and Russian Vids was doing it, and I kind of hit me like I wasn't cutting these guys up, but I'm like, these guys aren't going far enough, because how do you keep in these mass events like the one in Orlando? How do you keep the hospital quiet when nobody shows up as injured? How do you keep in the hospital, like I've done many times before? There are surgeons, orderlies, different levels of nurses, administrators, staff, janitor crew, cafeteria crew, anesthesiologists, interns, residents, delivery guys. There's a lot of people that can come and go from an ER room, drug reps, for whatever reason. How do you keep them all quiet when nobody came in? Nobody came in. Or if they came in with ketchup under a fake bandage. Nobody came in. How do you keep them all quiet? I get the same mantra repeated to me for 10 years. Well, Matt, I get the same bullshit. Matt, I used to work at a hospital, and you'd be surprised how you can keep people quiet, threatening their salary, their livelihood, and their pension, and a little bit of threat on the side. No, I don't buy it. I don't buy the threat and the carrot and the stick of the threat and the carrot of keeping your pension. I don't buy those pat answers anymore. When you don't get one person standing up and saying, I don't care about that. I care about humanity. No, I don't. There would have been one person, I think, spilling the beans somewhere that would have been captured by one of us. It's a reality breakdown. And I'm aware of those people that say, what would they do, Matt? Would they call up Anderson Cooper and say, Anderson Cooper, I work at the so-and-so hospital, and after the event, nobody came in. And Anderson Cooper would say, oh, I want to get you on the air. That's great. Of course, they would bring you in. I'm aware of all this. They would bring you all in, bring them in, and say, here, I want it, this information, sign here. And you'd sign away all your rights to whatever you know, and then CNN, of course, would never report on it, and, all of that can happen. But somebody would have gone rogue, a pilot, somebody that works at a hospital. And how did I transition to chemtrails into this, right? But now we're into the reality breakdown bucket. Meteorologists. So, hold on a second. Somebody's calling me. I'll come back in a moment and talk about why nobody can see it. Nobody around us can see it. All right, this is not going to be a big section because it's just we kind of are all in wonder on this together. When I said again to that one neighbor about these huge trails were overhead, I said, well, when did this start? It's always been that way. What do people say? I mean, how we know it hasn't always been that way. It can't be natural. Like I said, it would block the sun. We'd never see the sun on those days. It would be dark. I remember I used to go to a pool as a kid. Laid on a towel, looking up at the clouds, and just we spent so many hours at this pool for years. And I remember when the clouds used to block the sun, it would get cold sometimes. It wasn't always in the 90s, and I would have seen all these jet trails are actually blocking the sun. It's getting a little chilly. Or never did I notice anything like that. Of course, I remember looking up and seeing the contrails. Remember my father telling me, see that up there? The plane produces its ice crystals. And I remember clearly what I was looking at, just a short, tiny little trail that dissipated in 10 seconds, dissipated very, very quickly behind a plane. Knew what it was at a very early age, looked for it, looked up at the sky a lot. These chemtrails weren't around in the 70s and 80s. After that, went to college, started working, wasn't looking up at the sky and looking for shapes in the clouds, different mindset, different perspective, chasing materialism. Maybe they were around in the 90s, I don't know, but I can only vouch for growing up in the 70s and 80s as a very young child that they were not here. And I can't say 100%, but it's almost 100%. I'm sure most of you would agree. So it does get into, you get into reality breakdowns, and you want us to really go off the reservation in terms of conspiracy. And none of this is nothing's off the table when somebody around us says it's always done that. Maybe in their reality bubble, literally their reality bubble, it has always been that way. I don't take that off the table. That we each carry individual reality bubbles. That is on my table big time, because that's one of the only ways to explain all the facets of when I say, quote, reality breaks down. There's almost no way to explain it other than we carry to some degree our own reality. I know that's batshit nuts wacko to most people. I don't care. It's only, probably is wrong, but only big thinking like that will have a chance of even getting close. You're just going to pipe down barium, strontium, aluminum. That's not big thinking. That's not going to get you close. And if you parrot the same old script on each conspiracy, it's not even looking around the first corner. It's not going to get you close. You got to think, what's the biggest batshit crazy thinking I can come up with? Pursue that, and then that might get you close. That's my opinion.